Paul says in verse 8, Paul says, this is why, by the way, this is why it says that when Jesus ascended on high, he took many captives and he gave gifts to his people. What does he ascended mean except that he also descended to the lower earthly regions? He who descended is the very one who ascended higher than the heavens in order to fill the whole earth. Can everyone say, what? What is Paul getting at there? What's going on? What does that have to do with glory and gifting and power being unleashed through you into the world? What is Paul getting at? And we've got this text. We're the Inland Vineyard. Come on. We've got this text. We'll just take it kind of as it comes. Paul, first, he says, when Jesus ascended on high. The word ascension, when Jesus ascended on high, the word ascension is a first century term. Very popular, not popular, but very prevalent in the first century. What's the ascension? The ascension is when someone had fought and won a decisive battle. The one who won that battle would ascend to their throne and begin to rule. Now, the war may not have been over, but the decisive battle had been won. And so the one who won the battle would ascend to their throne and begin to rule, because the only thing that's left is a mopping up operation of a defeated enemy. That's ascension. And Paul says exactly. The cross was that decisive battle. And Jesus won that decisive battle. And so after the resurrection, Jesus appropriately ascends to his throne in heaven to rule, because the only thing that's left is a mopping up operation of an enemy, Satan, that has been in principle defeated. That's the ascension. And Paul says when Jesus ascended, two things happened. Number one, he took captives. He rescued captives. What in the world is Paul talking about? Well, later Paul says Jesus, the one that ascended, also descended to rescue those captives. What's that talking about? Well, Jesus, when he ascended, took all the Old Testament saints. They were in a place called Sheol, the resting place of the righteous dead, waiting for the victory over sin to be won. And once Jesus won that victory, Jesus descended into Sheol and got David and Abraham and Esther and Ruth and all those Old Testament saints and brought them with him to heaven to be at rest, so that they could be a part of this great cloud of witnesses. And Paul is saying, yes, those Old Testament saints are at rest, but you're not. You're not at rest from the battle yet. And so there's one other thing that Jesus did when he ascended. Not only did he release captives from Sheol and bring them to heaven, but what did he do next? He gave gifts to his people. He distributed weapons for the mopping up operation. Because the battle's still raging, he gave gifts, he gave power, he gave grace to each one of us, just in the measure of the portion that God saw fit. He's distributed to each one of us power, weapon, grace, and strength for the battle. And we need each other. Gift is power. Gifting is God's power flowing through you for this mopping up operation.